What is going on, everybody? Back with another trade deadline takeover. If you've missed the previous episodes of this series, what it is I simulate until the trade deadline in the season, unemployed, and then I hop in, take over a team that I think will be fun to be the GM of for the rest of the season. And I do that at the All-Star break. And from the All-Star break until the trade deadline, which is typically about 2 to 3 weeks, I can make I can bring in four players via trade, whether that's four trades, one trade, whatever. And it can only be players on the trade block that I can trade for. And that's all I can do. I cannot, fire coaches or anything, or sign free agents or anything like that. I can just bring in four players via trade. And I also let my manager retain control of the lineups. I simulate the games. So I just make these four trades. And Drew, who is one of the members of my Patreon page, he had an interesting suggestion, a good suggestion, which was simulate past 2021 for one of them, because I did two at the 2021 trade deadline, and there was similar players on the trade block each time. So what I did was I simulated forward to 2023, and it is different players on the trade block, which is cool. It'll be more interesting. And I'm going to take over the Minnesota Twins. A few Twins fans had chimed in saying they wanted to see that. I've gotten requests of several teams. I won't be able to get to all of them, but the Twins are in a fun spot here. People had asked about them. So the Twins it is. We are 45-41, 5 games back from the KC Royals, and we are half a game back from the Red Sox for the second wild card spot. Expanded standings-wise, our run differential is plus 20. We are exactly what our Pythagorean suggests we would be at 45-41. And let's hop on over to the team info page. See, so runs scored, we're 5th in the AL. We're 4th and 5th in most offensive categories. 3rd in home runs, 1st in strikeouts. Base running, not a good base running team. I don't really care that much about that. And I mean, sure, it'd be better to be good at base running than bad at it, but I like where all this other offense is, and I consider that more important. So pitching-wise, a little rougher. We're 8th in runs allowed. We're 12th in starters ERA, 5th in bullpen ERA, 9th overall in ERA. Our defense is okay. We're 6th in efficiency, 4th in zone rating. Our BABIP is 8th in the AL. And you can see we've been a 500 team really since, we're only 4 games above 500, so we're basically a 500 team. But we've been exactly 500 since the start of June. We were 4 games over 500 at the end of May, and since then we've gone 18-18. Injury-wise, we've got Jose Barrios, who is still a decent pitcher in this, but not an ace, but he's out for one more day. He's been out for about 2 weeks, so he's going to be back. He's got 4 days left on the IL, so he'll be back like end of this week. And then Thorpe and Belozovic are both out for the year. Byron Buxton, who is a great center fielder, great defensive center fielder. He's won 2 consecutive Gold Gloves in this game. He's having a really good year at the plate, but he's out for 1 to 2 weeks with chronic back soreness. He is fragile. So, you'd like to be able to count on him, but you're just not sure you can. So let's take a look at the lineups and go here by our hitting stats. And if we sort by WRC plus, we've only got 2 players who are below league average. Our backup catcher, Ben, Rortvedt? Sure, somebody can let me know how you say that if you know this dude, who's currently a minor league catcher. He's a leader, got good work ethic, but has been well below average in limited playing time this year. And then Tyler Kehoe, who is actually the number 5 prospect in baseball. He's only had 82 plate appearances, but he's been quite bad. And everybody else has been above average. Park in part-time duty has been excellent. Kepler and Kirilloff have both been awesome. So our outfield, once Buxton is back, seems pretty set between those 3. Polanco, Jeffers, Nolan Arenado on the Twins, which is fun. They signed him as a free agent. So I guess he opted out of his deal with the Cardinals and got a 5-year, $164 million deal. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but in real life, when he got traded to the Rockies, didn't he waive that option or something? That opt-out? I feel like maybe I'm remembering that wrong. But anyways, so he did opt out, and then Sano's been fine. Royce Lewis is not an amazing defensive shortstop. His numbers haven't been bad, a .5 zone rating, efficiency over 1, but not a guy who's stealing you games as a shortstop, right? As much as I know that's not really a phrase used for shortstops, but he's not a huge value out as a defensive shortstop, which isn't great. Luis Arias is having a solid season off the bench. Jeffers as our catcher is not a great catcher ability, but he's tearing it up at the plate. And so as you can see, though, our pitching staff is bad. And one way to improve that quickly is bringing a guy with high catcher ability. But Frankie Montas here, let's go ahead and sort by WAR to start. Stripling is our leading pitcher, WAR 1.4, and then our next is Montas at 0.6 when it comes to starters, and the next is 0.1, Matt Moore. He started one game. So Montas and Stripling have both been okay. Stripling's only pitched 10 games and been good, but he's only pitched in 10 games. And then Newcomb is putting up negative 1.1 WAR, negative 0.6 WAR, R-WAR. I mean, Lopez is negative WAR. He's got a 4.97 ERA and a 6.56 FIP. I mean, this starting staff is just not good. Matt Moore had one good start, but I mean, the bullpen's a bit better. Rogers is solid. Doolittle's been okay. Neris has been okay, although he's hurt right now. Smeltzer and Nikazi, both striking guys out and not walking too many people. So the bullpen seems fine enough. This is kind of like the Blue Jays sim where it's like, man, I'd love to bring in a great defensive shortstop, or I'd love to bring in a center fielder as insurance for Buxton, but limiting myself to the 4 moves, it's like, I don't know, this rotation's kind of a disaster. I'm kind of curious how they've been this good this year with this as their rotation. I mean, Barrios is out, obviously, but you bring Barrios back, and I'm still not sure you have anybody that's better than like a number 3 starter. I mean, yeah. So my strategy, I think, is going to be I think one way I can upgrade the pitching staff a lot in one move is to bring in a stud defensive catcher with really high catcher ability. And yeah, Jeffers has been great at the plate this year, but that will give a boost to our whole pitching staff, and then really try to bring in 3 starters. I think that's the move here. And yes, that leaves a possible big hole in center field. This guy, Deshaun Kiersey, hasn't even played a game yet. I guess they just called him up. But nobody here is a good defensive center fielder, which is concerning and a problem. And I'd love to upgrade a shortstop. But yeah, I think I'm probably going to go catcher and 3 starters just because this rotation is not going to get it done, man. So let's hop into the trade block. Okay, so taking a look at this trade block screen, I'm going to go through a couple different positions and kind of look for, I guess, what you could call, game changer type players, marquee players that really fit the needs. And again, I think, 3 starting pitchers and a catcher would be ideal, but I'm also going to take a look at center field and shortstop for fielding upgrades, especially because I don't trust Buxton's health in center. And a catcher, you can see Yasmani Grandal with the 75 catcher ability would be what I would consider a game changer here. He's 34. His bat hasn't been good in a couple of seasons, and he's also a leader. But you can see he's going to put up he's on pace for 2.1 WAR in 119 starts with an 83 WRC plus. So his fielding really makes a difference. And I think this will be one of the ways to give the pitching staff the boost that it needs. It'll kind of boost every pitcher. And while my current catcher, again, he's a good hitter, he's not boosting my pitching staff, and probably one of the reasons my staff is struggling. So I think Grandal, on the last year of a deal with the White Sox at 34, would be a guy that I'm going to bring in. And then let's look at shortstop. Again, Royce Lewis has been good, but he's not an elite defensive shortstop. If there was an option to bring in, it might be worth thinking about, but none of these guys are worth bumping off Lewis. So, and again, just to remind you, Lewis is it looks like he should be a really good bat. Was solid at the bat last year. Put up 4.9 WAR and a 116 WRC plus. Not quite as good this year, and he's not an elite defender, but I can live with him at shortstop because his bat makes him a net positive player. So, oops, that's not just shortstops anymore. So I don't think there's any need there's nobody here who's a true upgrade. So Lewis is going to be our shortstop. In center field, by outfield range, Almora and Kiermaier are both definitely guys who would be really good insurance for Buxton, who again is hurt right now. He's fragile. He could get hurt again, and I don't have a good fielding center field option. I would love it if Almora or Kiermaier had experience at other outfield positions. That would just be perfect, but they don't. A guy like Jacoby Jones could also play in left, but isn't as good in center and doesn't have a good personality. So, and is also not having a good year. Let's see, Akiyama is okay, but not having a good year. So, I would love to have a guy that could play all three outfield positions while being really strong in center. And it's not that Almora and Kiermaier can't play it; they just don't have experience there, so it might be a little rough. DeShields, yeah. So I think if I ended up going center field as kind of insurance for Buxton, I would go Almora or Kiermaier. I think those of you who watch my Blue Jays trade deadline takeover, I brought in a couple guys and relied on a few pitchers who had bad health grades, and everybody ended up getting hurt, and I ended up, kind of blew up the season. So that's why I'm a little hesitant here to go in with Buxton as my plan in center field with no real viable backup. So that's why I'd bring in a center fielder. But then obviously the biggest position of need, starting pitching. We're just going to sort by general pitching ratings first, by overall. And you can see Lucas Giolito is out here. Obviously, the best pitcher out here, best stuff by a mile, tied for the best movement, above average control. I'd say he's definitely a guy to go after. He's also with the White Sox in the last year of his deal. Tyler Mahle is a solid pitcher, an excellent slider, two good pitches. And I mean, he's probably, if I brought in him and Giolito, he's probably my number 2 starter. And then Barrios, maybe he's my 3 and Barrios is my 2. But Mahle, not amazing. But with what we're working with, he's an upgrade to our rotation, adds depth to our rotation, and bumps a mediocre starter to the bullpen or off the 26 man. So after that, I looked through these guys a bit. And again, if you've watched my tutorials, going by this overall, I kind of use it as an approximator, to when there's a bunch of players to look at, I sort by that. But it's important to look through their individual ratings here as well as their stats. And there's really no one else, as I look through it, no one else really who's that great, which is a bummer because we could really use 3 starting pitchers. But I think it might be best to bring in these 2 starters, Giolito and Mahle, and then Barrios is a 3. And then I would have my current 4 and 5, or my current 1 and 2, Montas and Stripling would be my 4 and 5. And Stripling's pitched well this year. And we bring in a catcher. I think we can do that. And I can't remember if I pointed this out earlier, but we have the number 1 farm system in baseball. I mean, look at this. They have 8 top 100 prospects and 6 in the top 50, 2 in the top 10. So we're just going to get silly with trading away guys. Again, not trades I would make. I would not be looking to unload this portion of the farm system if I was doing a long-term sim with them, but that's kind of the fun of these trade deadline takeovers is you can just kind of trade away prospects and go all in, go for it. So yeah, I'm gonna dig into what it's gonna take to bring in these guys. Oh, and I did mean to look at relievers too. I looked at them and I don't know, like I could see adding a reliever, but I don't think that's as much of a value add as bringing in Grandal or either the starters, obviously, or even Kiermaier or Almora, because I think those are really big insurance pieces to have as a Gold Glove caliber center fielder in case something happens to Buxton. So, I think Gallegos and Giles, while they'd be good ads, I'm okay with my bullpen. I'm okay with where the bullpen's at. So let's jump into some of these trades and see what we can do. Okay, so I've got the 4 players I think that I'm going to bring in. And to start, the headline would be Giolito and Grandal, who we just covered in the trade block. And the price for this trade is completely insane to bring in 2 guys. I mean, Giolito's, my scout thinks he's one of the best players in the game, one of the best pitchers in the game, and he's having a really good year. And Grandal's a great defensive catcher and leader, but they're both on expiring deals. They're both about to be free agents, and let's go through what this is going to cost. So, Lisandro Almonte is a really insignificant piece of this deal. You can see he's not really a future piece or a now piece. Joseph Cannon is the number 57 prospect in baseball. And for some reason, the Twins had him up for part of this year. I don't know. They drafted him in 2022. And then in 2023, he pitched some in the majors and some in A-ball. So number 57 prospect in baseball. And then we've got Andrew Painter, who's the number 12 prospect in baseball, 20 years old, pitching right now in high A. First round pick in 2021. Again, I'm not advocating making this deal if you're playing more than one season. And then we've got Jorge Alcala, who is a guy who has been up and down, it looks like, for the Twins the last couple of years. Kind of has a on the 40-man roster type of guy who's up when you need an extra arm, I guess. No big deal there. And then Jackson Jobe, who is the number 20 prospect in baseball, first round pick in 2021. And he is in A ball right now. And he's only made 4 starts so far, hasn't been great. But so we're giving up 2 top 20 prospects and so in total 3 top 57 prospects to bring in 2 guys who are going to be here for the rest of the year. So I would never ever make this deal. And I think I forgot to review this at the beginning, but I do play with the game settings up a bit, the trade settings. So I go 3 above on trade difficulty, above the norm, 3 towards favors prospects, and then ratings way to go 45, 30, 25. So, and I think I forgot to go over that at the beginning. So this is an obscene package to give up 3 top 100 prospects for guys who you're going to have for like a few months. And these type of deals don't really happen anymore. I think the trading Gleyber Torres or Eloy, those type of deals that the Cubs made and the Yankees made, and several years ago, like 2016, teams have backed off giving up top prospects like this for rentals. It doesn't happen as often, and certainly not at this steep of a cost. But we're getting 2 players who are going to help us a lot, and we're just here for the year, man. We're doing it. So the next move was Tyler Mahle, and we're giving up a guy who has been up with the team but hasn't really done much. He made the leap from Double-A this year as a starter there. He's pitched 15 innings out of the bullpen, and his FIP's been really good at 2.95, but a 5.28 ERA. So he's been solid, but nothing that's not replaceable as a bullpen guy for us. We'll take the upgrade for Mahle for the next several months. And then I did decide to go ahead and go with the Kiermaier trade, and this is going to cost us really nothing. David Benuelas, who is a minor league catcher, 26-year-old, does not really seem to have a future with the team. So those are the 4 trades. Let's go ahead and complete them. Boom. And then the White Sox, we're going to complete this. All right. This pains me to do it. I traded for an all-star. I gave up the farm system to do it, but I traded for an all-star who's going to be on my team for 2 months. And then where do we need to go next? I think the Cubs, right? Oh, no, we already made that one. Riveting stuff here. And then the Cardinals, right? Mahle, right. All right, cool. So now let's jump to see what our manager thinks of these moves and where he's going to put these guys. All right, so our manager obviously put Giolito in at the 1 spot, puts in Tyler Mahle at the 3 spot in the rotation, number 3 starter behind Montes, which is fine. Montes is a decent pitcher. I thought he was going to be bumped down to 3, but I imagine Barrios will probably come in either at the 2 or 3 spot, and then Moore will probably be DFA'd, honestly, and Stripling will be our 5 starter. So I feel a lot better about that rotation. I don't love it. I think we've got one really, really good pitcher in Giolito, and the rest are just kind of fine. And so lineup-wise, Grandal comes in as the starting catcher, bumps Jeffers to the backup role. Kiermaier's our starting center fielder for now until Buxton comes back. And Kehoe, our number 5 prospect, who has been up for a little bit and has not done anything with the bat yet, he's still up as our backup outfitter until Buxton's healthy. So Buxton, I think, is a week away. Barrios is like 4 days away, but Barrios helps him down for a few minor league starts, at least probably 2, I think. I can't remember how long he's been out. But so, yeah, this is the team that we'll move forward with. And I'm going to jump ahead. I will provide an update if anything big happens between now and the end of the season, but probably just going to sim to the end of the season, and we'll see if we make the playoffs.